Welcome back to College Football Addiction, the game of the week. Number one versus number two, number one versus number three in some places, I guess. We couldn't just make it 1-2 for the opener in some polls. But Gerry, how's it doing? How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. We made it through the off season barely, and now it's we're ready for Arch Mania and everything that comes with it, right? The good, bad, and the ugly, which I'm sure we're going to talk about.
Yeah, the highs and lows of and I really feel like Arch doesn't even do any of it to himself. I mean, you know this better than covering it, but like all the noise around him is just so loud. I mean, kind of similar to Tim. Like Timo wasn't doing anything to bring attention on himself. It was just all the excess stuff around him, and I guess that happens a lot of places. Like, you know, Hunter rarely did things last year that made Shedeur did, but like Hunter didn't do a lot of things that like brought attention on himself off the field. But the mania, the hype is crazy. I mean, the biggest question I have outside of all of that is just, man, biggest start of his career, certainly going up and doing this in the shoe. We've seen hyped teams go up there before and just absolutely have no chance. I certainly don't think that would be Texas's play here, but Arch dealing with that environment and that defense. I think they're going to be a top 5 defense in the country again. How does he handle it game one?
Yeah, I think what does Sark do? Like, I think Arch will be fine. Look, I mean, he's been – that doesn't mean you don't get nervous. Heck, Tiger Woods used to get nervous before every first tee shot, and I'm not comparing him to the best athlete in the world for a 10-plus year span. But what I'm saying is these guys do get nervous. That's natural, right? I've often said if you're not nervous, then I'm not sure you care enough. But, look, I think it's what Sark does in this game from a play calling standpoint early, especially in the first quarter. And you can't play conservative and go into the fetal position, Ryan Day or Steve Sarkisian, because Julian Sand's making his first career start. But I do think there's an element of, okay, we have to bring it physically in a game like this early. Because the one thing I've talked about a lot in the offseason is when Ohio State and Texas walked off of the field at the Cotton Bowl in the national semifinal, and you said, raise your hand if you're the most physical team, it would have been Ohio State. And now you're going up to play at Ohio State, and it's going to be a crazy atmosphere, and the Arch Mania will even make it that much more. I'm not sure how many times teams have played each other twice in a row like that to end one season for one team and start the next season. Obviously, Ohio State played Notre Dame, but, I'm getting at with Texas. So what is Sark going to do initially to help Arch Manning? I think that's the key. Not help like he needs it, but I mean help settle in, help get in a flow, right? And I think it's helping Arch and the offensive line. But I think Arch will be fine because the one thing I'll say about this, again, with the understanding guys get nervous, he's set for 2 years and waited on this opportunity.
Yeah.
Those guys, it's not like you're coming as a true freshman and you're being thrown to the wolves, right? This guy's been sitting in the program for 2 years. Who knows his teammates and his coaching staff and his locker room better than him? Because he sat there and he wasn't on the field having to go play to play and then lead a team. He got to really learn all these guys from his coaches on down to the players and in the locker room. It's a very comfortable situation for Arch Manning. Now it's just about going out and delivering to the level that his team needs. I don't expect perfection. I'm not one of those guys sitting there, oh, he's going to throw for 350 and 5 touchdowns. No. The over-under in Vegas is really good at this stuff is 239.5. If he goes out and throws for 250 yards and counts for 3 touchdowns, Texas probably walks out of that game with a W.
Yeah. What about so much has been made about some of the weapons that Texas has to replace this year and the new pieces against, again, a really good Ohio State defense. Obviously, a host of running backs. I love the injuries pickup. Just talk to me about the weapons that Texas will try to utilize to get him over that 239. Get him over. There is a reason they're still building palaces out there in the desert. Yeah. But talk to me about the weapons that Texas is going to try and utilize here.
So DeAndre Moore is not talked about enough. I think he's really good. 2nd, 3rd round level pick at wide receiver. First year starting last year, back this year. Him and Ryan Wingo, who should make a big jump in year 2, had offseason LASIK surgery. If that doesn't help a wide receiver, I don't know what does. But he is a first-round level talent if he puts it all together. So they have 2 starters back at wide receiver from the college football playoffs last year. And most people think, oh, they lost everybody. Well, that's not really the case. Isaiah Bond was hobbled the last half of the year. So Jack injuries, I'm with you. I love the pickup of Jack injuries. And not just Jack injuries, they got Jordan Washington, who didn't play a big role. He's a really good pass catching tight end. They got some depth there. Spencer Shannon, third year in the program as an inline guy in 12 personnel. And then they have a freshman, Nick Townsend, who can absolutely, he's a go-daddy now. He can rip and run. I'm not sure how much you'll see in Ohio State game, but I'm sure we'll talk again as the season moves along when he gets comfortable. But Trey Wisner was a 1,000-yard rusher, leading returning rusher yardage-wise in the SEC. I don't think that'll be the case this year, but he was last year in terms of returning rushers. And then C.J. Baxter back. I mean, that's a huge emotional lift for a team because he's one of your captains. Arch Manning gave him probably the best compliment you can give a running back in the Texas media yesterday. He said he's like a quarterback. He knows where everybody's supposed to be. He knows all the calls. He can make the calls. That is why Cedric Baxter started as a freshman. And when you have that major injury, sometimes people forget how valuable you were for a team. It's more than just taking handoffs with a guy like that. There's a reason Nick Saban before the season last year at SEC Media Day said he was the best running back they went against at Alabama. He didn't say the best runner. He said best running back. And there's a difference there. Getting C.J. Baxter, the emotional lift, he's their best inside runner. Now he's going to be wearing a big brace. Texas is going to have the pieces, right? Now, Emmett Mosley's out hurt. The transfer from Stanford, who was a 9-game starter as a true freshman, who would have been penciled in as the third receiver. Now Parker Livingston, who redshirted, will be the third receiver when they're not in 12 personnel packages. So, look, a lot for Arch is going to be on. Does Ryan Wingo become a guy that looks like a future first rounder this year? Does DeAndre more legitimately? If Todd McShay has a mock late first round, does he look like a second, third rounder, or even a late first rounder? If those guys look like that for Arch Manning, you know what Jack injuries can do at tight end. I think that is a very good replacement for Gunnar Helman from a production standpoint. I don't think there's going to be any fall off in the passing game. What do all those guys look like, and what does C.J. Baxter look like in his return? If it all comes to together for Texas, they're going to be a better offensive team than last year because Arch gives them mobility and a better player in the pocket.
I am not. So going to the other side real quick, I am not somebody that's like, oh man, I'm juiced up to watch offensive line and defensive line play. Like I'm right. Guilty of just watching the skill guys, right? I will tell you though, in this matchup, I think Ohio State has one of the deepest offensive lines. The way that they were still able to mow teams down, good defenses with their 7th and 8th and 9th best linemen, and they get all those guys back. And then, I mean, yeah, I don't need to go into depth about how good Texas's defensive line is and how much star power there is on that side. So I'm not usually like I'm the trenches guy. Like I think that's too trendy in today's football. But I am for this game. Like, I think if you can tell me who wins that matchup now, outside of somebody having 3 picks or something, I'll tell you who wins the game. And I'll probably tell you what the score is. That to me, that is just, I'm excited to see those two units clash.
I think you nailed it, man. I really do. And I've been saying this on our own Texas football YouTube channel. If Texas doesn't win the line of scrimmage with their strength of their team, which is the defensive front, then they're not going to win the game. Unless Julian Sand throws a couple of pick sixes, a kick return, something outside of the norm. If Texas does not win that matchup or at least make it a push, then they're going to lose the game, in my opinion. I just don't – look, Colin Simmons may be the best defensive player in America this year. And I know other fans are saying, this guy's nuts. Okay, maybe.
Ohio State fans will fight you about Caleb Downs, which is, again, another great matchup.
You want to know how good Colin Simmons is? He was the Sean Alexander National Freshman of the Year award winner. He didn't start a game. Over Ryan Williams and Jeremiah Smith and Dylan Stewart, he didn't even start a game. What's he going to look like in year 2? He's an elite edge rusher. Covered this guy in high school. My years doing this. This dude is different off the edge. Is he ready to be a 3-down player? If I'm Ohio State, I'm running it right at his helmet early in the game and say, prove to me you're a 3-down player. And by the way, the more you have to play the run, the more that's going to affect your pass rush. So if Texas, doesn't win up front or make it a push, which means Ohio State rushed for 81 yards in that game last year, even though their running backs averaged 5 yards a carry. Do I think Ohio State at running back is going to be as good as last year with Judkins and Henderson gone? I do not. Does that mean I don't think they have NFL running backs? No, they do. Just like when Texas lost C.J. Baxter, Trey Wisner came in, was a really good player. But Texas needs to hold Ohio State under 100 yards rushing in this game. And that means they will have played to a split up front or even won the split. But the big thing for Ohio State on the flip side, and I agree with you, Texas pass rush is real this year. Multiple guys, Colin Simmons, Anthony Hill, linebacker Trey Moore's back. Brad Spence transferred from Arkansas. Watch out for him. He doesn't even start on this team. That's how deep they are. The interior guys are really good players. Murad Watts was a freshman All-American at Syracuse last year. Alex January in year 2, I think, is going to be really good. They got a lot of dudes on the defensive front, and this is the best group of linebackers they've had. There's a young sophomore named Ty Anthony Smith. People are going to learn him this year. It's the way it is with these power programs. They have so much talent, so many guys that can rush the passer. Ohio State has to establish enough of a ground game to keep those guys off of Sayan's back.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to ask next. That's a perfect transition. Texas did a better job against Ohio State's passing attack as anybody did, right? In the playoff last year. You would imagine that they could potentially replicate that success. It all starts up front, right? If you're not getting pressure, then Sayan will have but man, to me, that's the biggest advantage that they really have in this game is a really good secondary. If they're getting push up front, a young quarterback that is he a little bright-eyed in this thing? Now, maybe not. Maybe he goes out and goes for 350, right? Like, who knows? Football's weird. But to me, it's the Texas secondary against arguably the best wide receivers in the country again. But it's a lot to do with Sayan, right? Like, somebody's got to throw Jeremiah the ball.
Yeah. So I love this conversation because I think there's two pieces to this. Texas last year, the strength of their defense, and I know they had 46 sacks, one off the school record. They played 16 games, so these records are a little weird
Wonky now, yeah.
Yeah, they're wonky. But Texas had the best communication in the secondary last year of any team I saw. Like, they tied that thing together with perfection. There weren't major coverage busts. They were like a really good half-court basketball team. They just all communicate well, and when they rotate, everything just looks like it's in harmony and there's no busts. But they lost Jahdae Barron. He won the Thorpe. And he traveled some with Jeremiah Smith, even though they had bracketed coverage in that game. They lost Andrew McCubu, who played like an All-American last year. Yes, they have Michael Taft back. Yes, they have Derek Williams coming off injury. Yes, they have Malik Muhammad back at corner. But are they going to be as good in communication? That's going to be the key for me with the Texas secondary against Ohio State. Because last year what they did, there were no coverage busts that ended up being strike up the band touchdowns. Against the Ohio State wide receiver, yeah, Ohio State hit him with a screen. With the Ohio State wide receivers. The flip side is there's no way Ohio State's going to allow Jeremiah Smith to have one catch for 3 yards.
Right.
Get him the ball in his hands, whether it's jet sweep, whether it's just a reverse, whether it's just quick game. They're going to make him more of a factor in this game, else they lose as a coaching staff, period. Even if they win the game, they lose as a coaching staff. You got to get Jeremiah Smith more involved. He's the best player in your program. So it's going to be really interesting to watch for the Ohio State and Texas fans. What does the secondary for Texas look like game one? Do they look as cohesive as last year? If they do, they may be the number one defense in the country. That's the big thing for me is, are they going to be that cohesive? Because that was the strength of that defense last year.
Dude, I'm so excited for it. I want to go around the country just real quick and get quick thoughts as we wrap up. Do you have a lean in the LSU Clemson game?
Man, here's my take on this real quick. Whichever defensive coordinator makes the most gains from last year to this year is probably going to win the game. I lean to Clemson because it's at home, and Brian Kelly hasn't won an opener. I know, jokes aside, I mean, maybe he's due. But look, is Allen a miracle worker with the Clemson defense? Because I'm here to tell you the last time I saw the Clemson defense was against Texas, and Texas could have rushed for 450 yards in that game if they wanted to. That was freaking ugly for Clemson. Like, they say, oh, they have all these first-rounders, and I agree. Peter Woods, Parker, they're great players, or potentially first-rounders. But Texas could have rushed for 450 yards if Cam Williams didn't get hurt in that game. They're averaging 17 yards a pop off the right side. So does Blake Baker have an advantage being year 2 as a coordinator in this game? They may have 6 starters from the portal, but there's some really good players off the edges, which they didn't have last year. I'm going to go with Clemson because it's a home game. But again, watch the D coordinators. Who's done the most work in a short amount of time there is going to win this game. Because I think both quarterbacks are going to play well. I think both receiver cores are really good. But I give the edge to Klubnik at home because I think that home crowd on the night game is going to be massive.
Miami Notre Dame.
I'm going Notre Dame. I'm going Notre Dame. Look, I think Marcus Freeman's a problem for people in college football, and that may be a big ask for CJ Carr. I'm not sure I'm buying the hype on the Miami quarterback, the Georgia transfer. Can't remember
Carson
his
Beck.
name. Yeah, Carson Beck. Yeah, coming off the elbow surgery, did not have a good season last year. I know their OC came out today. We think we have the number one pick in the draft 2 years in a row. I'll believe that when I see it because I watched them play last year. Georgia receivers didn't help him. I'm going with Notre Dame because I think Notre Dame, and I'm not saying I underestimate Miami's pass rush because Ruben Bain, some of those guys are really good players. I think Notre Dame is built to go on the road and win games like this because of their offensive front. Jeremiah Love's an absolute stud, and their backup running back from Denison's really good too. And I think they're going to take enough pressure off of CJ Carr. And I just think Marcus Freeman is a tremendous coach, and he's going to be a problem for people in college football.
Yeah, I think Beck probably could outplay Carr, but I do think that Freeman can coach circles around most people, but Mario involved. I'll do this one a little different. Florida State is a 13.5-point dog. Is there any way they keep it closer than that?
I have a hard time with this because, do you want Castellanos running the football against this Alabama front a lot? And you're probably going to have to. I think Mike Norvell's got to condense the game a little bit here, but how do you condense the game against them and not put yourself in bad positions? I'm going to take Alabama by 17.
I save the best for last. Texas, Ohio State, 1-2, 1-3, somewhere in there.
Look, I can't come on this channel and pick a loss. I think honestly, if you put the question to everybody, they probably say the games at Ohio State is a toss-up game, right? I mean, which quarterback's going to play better? There's so many things about it. But I am going to go with this. Sark's proven himself on the road against really good opponents early in the season. And who am I to bet against the guy that the last 2 times he won on the road, he beat Nick Saban by double digits. And I know that wasn't the same Michigan, which Ohio State's going to be better than that Michigan team that had horrible quarterback play. But you still went up there when you're up 31-6 and shut it down, essentially, in that game. I mean, so they have proven, Sark has proven, this staff's proven that they push the right buttons. They scheme it up for these early games. I'm going to go with Texas 24-20, but, man, to me it feels like a toss-up game. I know Texas fans will, no, it's going to be a blowout. No, Ohio State fans are going to, this Texas guy's in all them.
Yeah.
The reality is if you polled a lot of people, they probably say, look, Ohio State's favored by 1.5, 2 points. It keeps swinging because they're a home team. If it was a neutral field, Texas would probably be favored in this game. I still think when you put teams that are this talented together, it's a toss-up. What's your take? What's your take on this game, by the way?
Yeah, I kind of have a little more confidence in of all the games that could be predicted. This is the one that I have the least confidence in actually predicting.
Yeah.
I think I would just go with the home team in this, but with zero confidence, right? Like I think I'll take Ohio State, but I really don't know if I trust Sayin as much as I trust Arch. So it feels like I'm picking this knowing I'm wrong type of thing. So, but then if I do the same thing, I do the same thing with Texas. Like I'll pick Texas and then, I'll end up being wrong that way.
Who do you like Clemson LSU? Because to me, that's a wild card game in a lot of ways.
I think I agree with you completely on their defense, but I don't know that I have the trust in LSU's running game. I mean, Texas' running game was great, obviously. And so I don't know if I have the trust in LSU's running game until I see it. Yeah. And I've seen Cade play more consistently than Nuss. Like, Nuss has had some of those stinker games, like the Bama game last year, the Florida game last year. And so I would lean – I'm a little more confident in Clemson than I am in Ohio State or Texas, like either way. So I'm the same way. I think Notre Dame – I go back and forth on the Notre Dame-Miami game, but I'm leaning – ask me on Friday and I'll probably have a different answer. But I'm leaning Notre Dame at this point.
Biggest question with that, does Notre Dame have the home field advantage, or will they have more fans in the stands than Miami?
I mean, as a Florida State guy, like every time we go there, it is 60-40 Miami. Like, so they do have an advantage, but it is 40% FSU fans.
It's not 80-20. There's no 80.
There's no chance. No, it's 60-40. It's not quite 50-50. But as a Florida State guy, there is a ton of garnet and gold there. You want to see a home? You wait till you won't be able to tell because all orange. But wait till Florida Miami play this year.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be 50-50. It'll be as close as you can imagine.
By the way, that's the one thing I'll say, and we'll be talking a few. Mario Cristobal better win one of those 2 games.
Yeah, because if you lose both, I mean, shoot, then you got to go to Tallahassee the very next week. But if you lose both those, I mean, yeah, the ACC's still wide open, but your season's over, man, unless you
Your
run the
fan
table.
base is not going to like you at that
Yeah,
point.
they're
You
they're
can't go
they're
over
checked out.
games. Yep.
Where can people? I know you guys will be watching the game on Saturday. You guys do coverage multiple
Yep.
times a day. Where can people check all that out?
On Texas Football YouTube channel, we have a live watch with us. If you want to come give us all a hard time if Ohio State's up, or come celebrate with Texas fans if Texas beating Ohio State and you don't like Ohio State. On Texas Football YouTube channel, we'll be running shows all week. We have live show Coffee and Football every morning. And then we have shows throughout the day. But Saturday, the watch with us for the game, I'll be on that. Rod Babers, who's part of the On Texas Football YouTube channel, former NFL DB. And Bob Shipley, the father of Jordan Shipley, he's a former high school coach. We all do the watch with us. So come take in the game with us if you don't want to turn up the TV, and we'll have some fun.
Yeah, I found out about the watch with us about halfway through the year, and I never caught him live just because I was either at the games or watching, whatever, doing work or whatever. I go back and watch like half of them. If it's a blowout against Mississippi State, I don't care. But like, I go back and watch them, and the high highs and the low lows are, yeah, fans should go check them out one way or the other. Props to you guys for putting it out there. Thanks for hanging out, man. Good luck this weekend.
Got it. Thanks, man.